Hey, cancer warriors, it's Tonya, the holistic cancer wellness specialist. I can't even talk today. And this is Power Pantaloons podcast. Today we have Jill Sturge. Did I say that right? Sturge?
Sturge, that's correct.
Sturge. Welcome to the show. I'm so honored to have you here.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Anytime to be able to share my story and to motivate and inspire other warriors, I'm here for it. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, what kind of cancer did you have?
I was diagnosed at 43, a few short years ago, with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer.
Okay. So, I'm also a survivor, and in a whole month and a half, it will be 17 years for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Girl, that is amazing. Amazing.
So I love talking to other survivors because I learn something every time I do. And I don't know enough about breast cancer. Fortunately, that's not what I had. I had uterine. So what does the triple negative mean?
Um, it's more so it doesn't have anything to do with, I would just say most people are like HER2 positive and um there's a lot of other terminology, but basically you the with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, you have to basically do all three forms of treatment in order to really be able to get past it. So in my case, I did 25 rounds, excuse me, 25 rounds of radiation. I had a right breast mastectomy, and I also did 20 rounds of chemotherapy.
Wow. Wow. And you said you were diagnosed just a few years ago?
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 43. I was turning 44. I'm blessed to be 49 now. And it was, yes. And one of the things that a lot of people ask me is, what's the one thing that you wish you had known before? I wish I had known that it was not going to be a quick turnaround. It literally, for me, was like 3 years of the treatments, the surgeries, the recovery. Um, we had a little setback. So it was almost 3 years of really kind of getting through everything. And I like to say that I'm 2 years out. Um, because for me, I know, and that's, it's so funny because one of the things I always tell people is that when they hear that people ring the bell, they just think it's over. And I'm like, it's not.
I didn't get a bell. There was no
I
bell in
brought a
my
bell.
hospital.
My treatment place didn't even have a bell, and they didn't even really understand the whole concept of the bell. And so I brought my own bell, and it actually was kind of better that way because that was a bell that my mother had. Like I said, I'm 49 going on 50 this year, and that was a bell that my mother had since I was a little girl. And I would get in trouble because I would go and ring the
The
bell.
bell.
And so I brought that bell with me the last day of my radiation treatment. And
Yeah.
it was so it was really sentimental because my mother was there and my daughter was there and my good girlfriend was there. So it had a lot of meaning that I chose to ring that bell.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to keep it, right? Like that's like
Mhm.
now part of your household treasures, right? Like
It it
I didn't
it
even
still belongs
know
to
about
my
the bell.
mother. It still belongs to my mother, but I
Yes.
told her, in her will, she needs to put that bell's coming home with me, because it has a new meaning now in the family.
Absolutely. I was diagnosed so long ago. I didn't know anything about a bell, so I didn't have any of that. A lot of people think that when you get diagnosed, it is a quick turnaround, and for me, it was about a year,
Oh, wow.
and that was just dealing with cancer,
Hmm.
and after after that, there was the whole I spent 5 years reconnecting with my divine feminine core because it tried to kill me, right?
Right.
Like, so there was a disconnect. And I think that part was harder, you know, because a lot of things in society attach your uterus with your femininity, which is absolutely garbage, right? um and that you're not useful anymore when you don't have a uterus anymore. There's a lot of society BS to unpack with that.
I definitely can relate. One of the things that I always tell people is that when my breast was removed, I felt like a part of my womanhood was taken away from me. And that was one of the
Yeah.
hardest things. Um, for some people, they're just like, well, it's just breast. But, as a woman, that's what's the one thing that when we're coming up as little girls, we're excited to get that first bra, you know. you
That and your hair, right? Like your
Yeah,
hair.
in your hair. And I mean, I couldn't do the cold cap. For me, it was just too much. And so I lost all my hair, on my head and throughout the body. Um, and so it was just a lot. It was just a lot. And those little things that as a woman sometimes we take for granted, it was in the midst of that. It was just like, what do you mean I can't? What do you mean I can't wear nails? I don't understand. But you can't have acrylic on your nails. I mean, I couldn't get pedicures. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I'm a girl. I like
Girly girl. You
I'm a
like all
girly
the
girl, but I'm a tomboy at heart. So I couldn't go to the football games because I couldn't sit around all these people who could potentially get me sick in the middle of my treatment.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that you know um as you're going through it, you're like, wow. So you realize how much of life is really taken away from you during
Mm,
those times of treatment, and even afterwards. you know um I was recently having a discussion with my mother the other day, and I was one of those who was like, I will just live with one breast. I'm fine with that. And recently, I've kind of had a change of mind. And I said to her, I said, I'm considering doing the surgery where they take some fat from my body and to create a breast. And she said, you are? And she said, but you were so adamant. And I said, that's the thing about when you're going through at that time, you may feel one way, but as you kind of come into your own, kind of settle into what life is now, sometimes your perspective changes. And also
yes.
doing more research, in seeing the success on other people who've had
Yes.
that surgery kind of changes your perspective.
Yes. There are a lot of beautiful women on TikTok who are very open about their stories, and they'll go topless and they'll show what's going on. And I think that's some kind of bravery right there. Like really. Um I have met several that have decided that they want to do what you're talking about there, and create a breast out of body tissue, and some of them have decided that they're going to go flat, and some of them have decided that they want implants, and it's a deeply personal decision based on who you are, right? Like it I hope I never have to make that decision.
It's a very tough decision because, um, I had options. I could have done a lumpectomy, but by doing the mastectomy, it lessened the chance of reoccurrence.
Yeah.
So that was why I chose to do the mastectomy, but I only did a right breast mastectomy. I didn't do a double. And so, there are challenges as you're getting dressed. And I actually did have um I actually did put in an implant, but unfortunately the implant almost killed me.
Oh boy.
Um, for whatever reason, I was living good for about 6 months, and then it was just like all of a sudden my skin turned black and blue,
Oh God.
and the skin on my breast started to fall off, literally fall off like a snake,
Oh
and
wow.
created a hole the size of of a quarter, and you could actually see the implant.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I had to I be rushed to the hospital and have emergency surgery to have it removed. And, even the surgeon said he had never seen anything like that before. And he just said, we have to remove this. And he was like, Miss Sturge, I don't think that you will be able to qualify to ever get an implant again.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I just want to live. I had 2 kids, you know, I'm a single mom. I just like,
Yeah.
it's life is bigger than a breast at this point. So remove it. And he said, well, would you consider, taking tissue from another part of your body? And at that point, I was so upset and I was so hurt because I felt like I had did everything the doctors had told me to do. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do it. No, I was very snippet and I don't want to do it. Um, but like I said, now that 2 years has kind of gone by, um, wow, this is amazing. It's 2 years. It made the 18th, January 18th, the last time I had that surgery. And it's been 2 years, and now my perspective I'm a little more open to it now.
Well, the lovely thing is, like, you can change your mind about something like that. Um, so how did you originally figure it out? Like, did you find a lump? Did you like walk us through that process?
I'm an event planner and I came home and it was a long day and I took my bra off and I always just by habit would rub my breast, be like, oh, I'm home. Ooh, it's been a long day. And I took my left hand and kind of rubbed it on the outer bands of my right breast and I felt a lump. And I was like, and then I went down and I felt another lump.
Oh gosh.
And so I asked my mom to come in the room and see if she felt it. And she said, I feel it. She said, but it could be, like
Be anything.
fibroids or, she said, but you know what? It doesn't hurt to call your gynecologist, see if they could squeeze you in, get, a doctor to actually, see if they feel it as well and, maybe take the necessary next steps. And that's what I did. I called my director, told her what was going on. She was familiar with breast cancer because unfortunately she had a family member that had just gone through everything. And so she was like, yeah, don't play around, Jill, go get this checked out. And that's what I did. But I discovered it myself. And that's why I am a very, very big advocate for self-examinations. Um, I promote going to get mammograms, but I tell women, you know, one of the first indications is you just touching your body and really getting familiar with your body. I think a lot of women we just throw on a bra and a top and keep it moving, and we don't really kind of like examine ourselves and touch ourselves. I think for so long we've been kind of ostracized in touching ourselves as a bad thing, but right now it's very important to do.
Absolutely. So I, I advocate strongly for routine testing, what they offer, go getting your annual tests. Um, Back in December, I went for my routine mammo and they discovered some mass. And I spoke with the breast surgeon oncologist last week.
Okay.
And on the 22nd of February, I'm going for my very first breast biopsy, and I'm terrified.
And it's okay. It's definitely okay. And, that's what we are here for. Both you and I are members of Girl Hold My Hand, and
Yes,
and so I'm definitely here to hold your hand, and definitely will be calling you and following up with you to find out. I tell you that a biopsy is as scary as it is. It's one of the very thorough processes that they use to kind of determine what's going on. And I'm glad that you have a team that
mm,
is taking it very seriously and making sure that you get that procedure done so that you can have a better idea. Um, One of the things I tell people is early detection is key. You
absolutely,
know, um,
absolutely.
it's definitely the game changer on, how things are happening. I think a lot of times with many of us, we get busy with work and, our professions, our hobbies, our passions, children, and we forget to take care of ourselves. And so it's good that you caught it and you're going in and you're going to find out what's going
Yep,
on. And then you can go from there. And the best advice that I would give you is don't self-diagnose. Go in there
I'm
and
not.
let them do their thing.
I'm not. With as much as I know, I mean, being a survivor almost 17 years and studying it and now advocating and talking to other survivors and just telling everybody go get your routine exams and listen to your body when your body is telling you something is off. That's how we caught my cancer originally, is because there was something off with my body and I just knew it. Um, they went through a lot of extensive, so there were no markers in my blood at all. The pap smear came back fine. The ultrasound, the transvaginal ultrasound, all came back fine. They did something called a sonohistogram, which is where they inflate the uterus with saline and then they image it. That came back inconclusive. They had to do a DNC to find my cancer.
Wow.
Yep. And like it gets even crazier. So a healthy uterus is 4 ounces. When they took mine out, it was over 10 pounds. So I literally had a head, like bowling ball size, tumor, and there were no markers in my blood. That's rare, but it does happen. So I listened to my body. My body was like, there's something going on. And
Mhm.
as I advocated for myself and I had the right doctor, because she listened to me, she's like, okay, so this came back negative. Your next step is blah, blah, blah. Do you wish to proceed? There was no, I didn't get any pushback or anything like that. And as a woman, we get worse care as it is, right? We get
Mhm.
gaslit and told that it's anxiety or in our head or
Mhm.
go lose some weight or whatever. And as
Mhm.
a woman of color, it's even worse for you,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because of
really is. I was just having this discussion yesterday, and I was sharing with my mom how a young lady that I had known um just passed yesterday from
mm,
breast cancer.
I'm so
And
sorry.
thank you. And it's just, my mom said, I don't understand. And I said, Mom, I hate to say it, but a lot of African American women are being misdiagnosed.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Lack of resources. I would even also say, we're always hesitant in getting mammograms because of the discomfort, and not only African American women, but women in general
Yes.
are always very hesitant because the pain and the discomfort of the process. Um, or that's what a lot of people share. And, I
I,
always tell
I think it's
women,
deeper than that. I honestly, I think it's because we've been gaslit our entire lives. Every time we go to the doctor, our concerns are dismissed. So we don't see a point, right?
yeah,
Which which is
or
so
our voices
damaging.
aren't being heard because
Yeah.
we'll go in saying, hey, something's going on. And it's like, oh, it's just, and like you said, for yourself, you had to be a big advocate. You had to
Yes.
say, no, 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 I know that there's something wrong.
Yep.
And we need to go a step further. And I think that there are a lot of women who are hesitant or scared to even kind of challenge their physician and saying, hey,
Yeah,
let's go a step further. And then, we also have to factor in insurance, you know, there
we
are a
do.
lot of, you know,
I
because
One of the things I like to tell everybody is it's a medical practice. They're practicing. Yes, they've had years of teaching, right? But you live in your body every day. So you're the expert on your body. So when you know there's something wrong with your body, if your doctor isn't listening to you, fire them. You absolutely have the right to fire them and go find somebody who will actually listen to you.
I completely agree. And I've been telling people to go even further, get second and third examinations from different physicians,
Yes.
because you may have someone who says no, and then someone else who goes even further, and then you find out, your diagnosis is deeper than what maybe even the first doctor or the second doctor even said. Um, but I have been, just from talking, going out there into the community, healthcare has really, as far as insurance being able to pay for these different services, has been making a difference. Because in talking to people, and share my story and my experience, and I've had people say, "You're so fortunate. That wasn't my story.
Yeah.
I didn't." The people who were in the chemo center, they weren't nice, they weren't friendly, they weren't caring.
I,
um
I had some bad experiences with practitioners, but I also had some excellent experiences. And 17 years ago, when I was initially diagnosed, um, I did have insurance and I stopped adding the number up on how much the insurance company paid out. Not was billed, but paid out when it rolled over $1 million.
yeah.
And there's no way I would have been able to afford any of that without insurance. And I know how fortunate I am that I had insurance at that time.
Mhm.
And it really bothers me that health insurance is tied to employment in this country. There's no reason for that. The
Yeah, I had to kind of shift a chemo appointment, a chemo session by one day. And I had to go through a lot, through the insurance companies, through the doctors, just to make a shift by one day. And I had a doctor say, you better make sure that everything is lined up, because if it's not, this is a $30,000 mistake. One
Yeah,
session.
yep, absolutely.
And I'm like, in my mind, I said, I'm doing 20 sessions, 20 times 30, just in chemo by itself.
Yep. That
I-
doesn't include hospital stays. It doesn't like I mean
It's crazy. So, when we think about the individuals out there that are battling, that are fighting, and they don't have insurance, it's tough. And so you have to stop and wonder that the people that we're losing, did they have insurance, and what type of insurance did they have? And then, you know, because that's going to determine the treatment.
yes, which is horrible. Absolutely
Very
horrible.
much.
I you know, I I went ahead and incorporated a whole bunch of holistic stuff in addition to the standard of care, which is surgery, radiation, and chemo. My oncologist gave me what he called a chemotherapy radiation sandwich, and I looked at him and I said, "That sounds disgusting. Can I have the tuna instead?" Like I just the chemotherapy that they gave me was so toxic that they had to give me rescue drugs before, during, and after giving me the chemotherapy. And
Mhm.
because of that, my chemotherapy had to be inpatient. So I went into the hospital for 4 days a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I had 5.5 weeks of radiation in the middle of all these. So it was about a year. Um, I know that when my doctor actually said to me, you have cancer, her lips kept moving, and all I heard was Snoopy's teacher, womp 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 womp, right? I
Mm-hmm.
and I and that apparently is a very common response to receiving news like that. Even if in the back of your head you suspect that you have cancer, getting the actual diagnosis really is a punch in the face.
It really is. Especially where you are in life when you get that diagnosis. I was engaged at the time. Um, I was promoting a health and wellness business. So in my eyes, I'm like, I did a doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
I'm early 40s. I'm relatively healthy as far as no diabetes, no cholesterol, no high blood pressure. I
Yes.
mean, none of the big token things that they tell us to all look for.
they
Um,
they always assume you
and
have because you're in a larger body, right? Like
right.
they look at you and you're diabetic. No.
No.
Oh, so you have high blood pressure? No, I'm
Oh,
really healthy for a fat girl. Thanks. Like,
yeah, yeah. I trust me, I that resonated with me as well. And so when I got the diagnosis, it was just very shocking because at that time there was no family history of
mm,
breast cancer. And so it just didn't make any sense. I did the genetics testing, I did 128 what variant different testing, and there was no variance.
the
And so
interesting thing about cancer is 6 to 8% is genetic. The rest of it is based on environment and toxins. So that they are hyper focused on your genetic response
mhm.
shows that they don't want to examine the stuff they put in our food, the stuff that they put in our houses, the stuff that's in our cars, the stuff that goes in our skincare and
On
cleaning
our
products
hair, on
and
our
and
hair,
everything. Yes.
everything.
They just
It's
want to ignore all of that and you can't, right? Like I make my own soap, I make my own shampoo.
Yeah,
I
I too had made some changes, after my diagnosis because I was just like, I didn't make any sense why this happened to me. So for me, I started looking at a lot of things, different things I'm eating, the makeup I use,
yes.
chemicals that I put on my hair, and um, so I made a lot of changes. I mean, I haven't gotten like acrylic on my nails. I wear press-on, cute press-on nails. Right. And sometimes I go without nails. Just when I'm in my girly girl feel, I'll throw on a cute pair of press-on nails. But I had to make a lot of adjustments.
Yeah.
Um, the processed foods, do more cooking at home and less eating out. Just a lot of different things, cleansing my body on a regular basis, just a lot of little things that I incorporated
Yeah.
because I just didn't know how cancer came about. Um, and just making the people around me more aware as well. Um, because I have a daughter, and so now she has to go and get mammograms done at an earlier age.
Yep.
But when I was diagnosed at that time, the I would have never known if I didn't do a self-examination because at that time you had to be 45 to qualify for a mammogram. I wasn't. I was 43.
I I got
And
diagnosed when I was 38, and younger and younger people are being diagnosed. They're going to have to redo those parameters very soon. Um I I do have breast cancer in my family. It's just one individual, and it's my mother's sister, right? Um, and when I spoke with the oncologist, she asked me 3,000 questions about my history. Because I asked her, I said, do I qualify for the BRCA1, BRCA2 gene testing? Like, I want to
Okay.
know, like, is this a thing that I should go investigate? And she's like, well, let's talk about that for a minute. She's like, you had cancer, so you know that counts towards it, but you don't have breast cancer, and that you only have one relative that has breast cancer, and the breast cancer was after menopause.
Okay.
Then I at this time do not qualify for that gene testing. She doesn't recommend it, and I was like, okay, that's
Okay.
fine. uh Talking to your doctors, you learn a lot, right? And then
Yeah.
of course you can find a lot on PubMed. There's a lot of information out there, and you spoke about self-diagnosing earlier. Yeah, you can make yourself crazy doing that, but you
Can.
absolutely can educate yourself. There are so many things that you can do that are complementary. Reiki, which is energy healing. There's crystal singing bowls. There's color therapy. There's aromatherapy, and
Puncture.
yes, yes, detoxifying baths, grounding with,
Mhm.
walking barefoot on the ground for 7 minutes a day, right? Like there's so many things that you can add in. And what I did is I actually had a conversation with my oncologist. I'm like, I'm doing all of these woo woo things. And he's like, he rolled his eyes at me and he said, no herbs. I said,
Mhm.
why? Because I wanted to why. And he was like, because I don't want any of the herbs to counteract the chemotherapy. And I'm like, but I do. Like, because chemotherapy is so so
Hard. So hard on the body. It's
yes.
how, I know it's a discussion that a lot of people try to stay clear of. Um, but we have to be honest. But it works. It does what it's supposed to do. But at the same time, does it counter with the stuff that's good in the body? Yeah, it does. But it does what it's supposed to do. But I know in my case, I didn't tell the doctors what I was doing on the side. Um, I come from, my family is from the Caribbean islands. And so my mother was like, we're going to do what the doc says, but we're going to do old school Caribbean drinks, herbal drinks. So a lot of aloe
Sour sop.
and soursop tea. My sister even was making soursop ice cream, which was good actually. um,
Listen, I
and
absolutely,
turmeric, aloe.
turmeric is gold.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean a lot of really dandelion tea. There's a lot of things. I mean, there was this one.
Mushrooms.
Yes, there was this one concoction my mother made. It was so nasty. It was just nasty to all. But she was like, I'm telling you. And I swear, I went to the bathroom and I was like, what in the world just came out of me? Um, but it didn't fail that when I went to the doctor, they were like, oh my God, your numbers are so great. What are you doing? And I never said anything. I
They
never
don't really want to know anyway. They can't. It's not like they can recommend it because of their requirements. You
said.
know,
I did have a doctor whisper in my ear that said, if you come back in my office one more time dealing with nausea because of the chemotherapy, that he said he was going to write me a medical marijuana card. And I said, I don't smoke. He says, I know, Jill. But there's so many other ways that you can do this. He was just like, because you're struggling
yeah.
and you're having a hard time with this chemo and this nausea, even though we're giving you nausea medication, you're still struggling. And he's just like, if you come back in here one more time, and every time I would see him, I'd be like, oh, okay. And my girlfriends were like, you're silly, get the daggone card.
I I was never offered that. Um, However, my roommates at the time were very interested and doing that. So every once in a while, I'd go over to their side of the house and be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would just smoke in the room, and I just get a contact, and it helped. It helped with the nausea. It helped with eating, right? Because you lose
Mm-hmm.
your appetite. Everything smells nasty.
Right.
I
Right. I used to be a big sushi eater, and I don't even eat sushi anymore. I tried one after I completed my treatments, and it just didn't even taste the same.
No, no, it's like there was one day I ate the nasty hospital food because I was excited about the chocolate chip cookies on the plate, right? So I ate all this disgusting hospital food. I took one bite of the cookie. It was a chocolate chip cookie, and I said to my sister, I said, "This tastes like garlic." And she's like, "You're ridiculous." And I'm like, "Then you eat the cookie." Well, I was not wrong. There was garlic in the cookie. The kitchen messed up. I'm
Oh,
assuming they made
wow.
garlic bread and then saw the butter and that's what I'm assuming happened. I don't know, but it was a garlic chocolate chip cookie. It was the grossest thing I'd eaten in a long time, and I was so mad because I was that was the one highlight of the day, right? Was this cookie?
I trust me, I definitely understand. Some of the side effects though of chemo is, there's a lot of different things. And for me, one of them has been that the fact that it's pushed me into menopause. Um, and so now being in menopause, just dealing with so much, the emotional roller coaster, the weight fluctuations, the, you know,
Hot flashes,
hot flashes, the
the
sweat,
irritability.
very much irritability. I tell anyone who is in a relationship with someone who's in the middle of menopause, they really love you. They really love you. And I experienced that the other day. I looked at my boyfriend and I said, "You really love me," because I know that I've been emotionally up and down, up and down, up and down. Um, but that's, part of it. But one of the major things that I've had to deal with was anxiety. And so I had someone who revisited one of my girlfriends. She was like, "I told you to get that marijuana medical card." And I was like, maybe I should. But I've had to deal with anxiety. And I think because I was diagnosed during COVID, um, which didn't help it any
Yeah,
because you're very isolated. And I did a lot of surgeries by myself, went into the hospital, came out, and of course the family was there outside of the hospital, but there wasn't anyone holding your hand as you're about to, have these surgeries, and no one holding your hand when you came out. And so, it created kind of like an isolation.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I can't even imagine having to go through radiation and chemo during COVID. I just it adds extra challenges that nobody really needs, right? It's just it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Um, where are you located? Like, what state are you in?
I'm located in Virginia. So I did most of my treatments in Fairfax, Virginia, and I have to say I had amazing doctors, part of the Inova team and the Kaiser team. In the middle of me getting my treatments, my contract kind of changed with my employer, so my insurance changed, which meant I had to get a brand new team. And at the beginning, I was livid. I was upset. I was like, "What do you mean? I really like these people." And then so I did the chemo with one insurance team, one healthcare team, and then I did the radiation and the surgeries and so forth with another team. And so it's a matter of picking these doctors, interviewing them, making sure, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And of course, COVID hits. So it's, there was a lot of different layers to my treatment. It wasn't just getting it done and just, there was a lot of up and down, up and down. But thank God I ended up with really good doctors on both sides of it.
Did you work through the entire process?
I did. Um, they,
Girl,
they used to call
how?
they used to call me Superwoman at the chemo treatment sessions center. I was crazy. I worked
There's
pretty
no
much
way.
like Tuesday through Friday. I would do chemo on Saturday and
No way.
Sunday and Monday. Monday was kind of like if I felt good, I'd go in. If I didn't, then I'd stay home. And
I can't even imagine trying to have worked through that. It was brutal. I was literally sleeping 20 hours a day. There's no way I could have worked. Absolutely no way.
yeah, they were like, "You're crazy," And one of my doctors, she was like, "Jill, you've got to slow down. You cannot." And so, you know, but you know what? I was telling my mother this the other day. Between chemo and radiation was harder. I think because it was every day for 5 weeks, so Monday through Friday, and I worked. So I would work from 9 to 2, get to the hospital by 3, do the radiation treatment, and then drive home, and my commute's over an hour.
No way.
And there were times I would literally pack a dinner or a evening meal right after for me to have after radiation so that I wouldn't feel nauseous. And and then I would jump on the road and go home and do it all over again. And I did this for 5 weeks. And
The radiation was really rough because of that. I had mine was 5.5 weeks, and just driving to radiation and home, like I honestly think that I should not have been driving, right? Like I should have I had no reason to be on the road, and literally worse than any kind of drunk driver just because of how I was because of the radiation. And I didn't know there were organizations where there are volunteers that will take you to and from your appointments. Nobody told me about that.
I didn't know either. Now that I'm on the other side and I'm part of doing different advocating, now I know all these, there are places that will help with bills, um, you know, so much I didn't know at that time. Because at that
Exactly.
time, all I could think about was trying to get through, trying to manage, trying to live. And
Yeah.
I didn't know about the transportation. Um, I literally was superwoman because I felt like I had to be. Had I known about these organizations, I really sure wish that that I,
Yeah.
looked into that.
I, my sister worked like 16-hour days for 6 months, right? I didn't get my I didn't get a disability check for 4 freaking months.
Wow.
I, I was able to get, food stamps immediately, which
Okay.
was really helpful. But when I got the check, I handed it to my sister because she had paid all the bills, and she was upset because she couldn't be there for me at the doctor appointments and stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what you're doing, the support that you're giving me by making sure that the rent is paid and everything is paid, that is supporting me. That's helping me. Oh, it looks like you froze. Um, but yeah, so like that part was absolutely difficult. Um, well, it looks like we had internet issues with Jill, but I want to remind everybody to please go and get your testing and do all of your absolute important your mammos, your pap smears, your colonoscopies, all of these things you need to be doing on a regular basis so that you get the care that you need when you need it. No, it's okay. I just reminded everybody to go schedule their routine
Yes.
services and do all their self-care because that's super important. Um is I like to wrap up with that anyway. I like to remind everybody to go make their appointments because early detection does save lives. And if you're looking at the current statistics for cancer, it's 1 in every 2 people will have some kind of cancer before they die, and 1 in 8 will have some kind of breast cancer. And
Yes.
and I didn't say 1 in 8 women, 1 in 8,
One
because
in
men
eight.
also get breast cancer.
Yes, they do. I sat in the chemo center treatment location with men and African American men and Caucasian men. So, this thing is making an impact on all communities. So it is very, very, very important that everyone does get their schedule their annual mammogram and to conduct their self-examination at
Yes.
least once a month, if not every week. I would also like to share that I am a breast cancer advocate with Living Beyond Breast Cancer organization, which is on Instagram under Living Beyond Breast Cancer and on Facebook. And this organization offers a lot of different support services for those who are battling breast cancer or battling breast cancer. And there are a lot of different services that they offer or can forward people to. I'm so grateful to be aligned with this incredible organization. I can say that I wish I had known about them when I was going through it, because I definitely would have linked up or looked into the different things that they offer. So to your viewers, I definitely ask that, they take a look at and definitely get the hotline number. I don't know it by heart. Shame on me.
All right. No,
Um,
that's cool. I'll make sure to put that information in the show notes
yes.
on YouTube so that people have access to it. And I appreciate that you're talking about it because the more informed you are when you start your battle, right? And there are advocates all over the place. You can reach out to me directly, you can reach out to Jill, you can reach out to any of my other guests. Everybody everybody is willing to help you, right? They just need to know that you need help. So you just ask. And I know that that can be challenging in and of itself. However, a cancer battle is not something that you want to do by yourself.
Don't. You
Really
don't.
not.
I was very fortunate to have, my parents be a very big support for me and, as well as my children. Um, but one of the things that I did, before kind of making the world know that I was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, I went onto Facebook and I just typed in breast cancer support groups. And there's so many
So
that is
many.
out there. And the beautiful thing about it is we're all coming at it from different walks of life, but we have that one commonality, which is that we've been diagnosed with cancer. And so there's a lot of love and support that are in these groups. And so
Yes.
I would definitely tell anyone who's watching us today that don't go through this alone.
Yeah.
Definitely there, like I said, there are different support groups that are out there that can definitely be helpful to you. And just and sometimes it's just knowing that someone else has gone through what you're experiencing, to just know that you're not alone.
Yes, absolutely. And there are even consultants, coaches. Some are nonprofit, some have scholarships. Just reach out to somebody that you resonate with and find out what they offer. There are nonprofit organizations out there with all kinds of resources. Feel free to DM me and I can help you out with that as well.
And it
Jill,
would be remiss of me if I didn't say that also you could connect with both of us through Girl Hold My Hand. That's where me and Tonya met. And so, that is also another great organization or
absolutely.
community of incredible women from all walks of life that you be surprised that there's someone in that group that you will be able to connect with. So I would
Yes.
definitely suggest, please do not go through this alone. Guy, no girl, there is definitely someone who you could connect with, who could definitely hold your hand as you go through this process, whether you're still battling or whether you're on the other side and just trying to navigate your way through life, just figuring
Yes.
out where you are, what does your new world consist of? Just
Yes, because as soon as you're done with all of your treatment, they release you back into the wild with nothing. They
nothing.
no resource. They don't tell you nothing. They're just like
Yeah.
goodbye.
There's no team. There's no, the
Nothing.
doctor's
There's
appointment
nothing. And you're
start to
standing there
whittle
like, what
off.
just happened? Like
Yeah,
bamboozled. But there
yeah.
are people out there, absolutely. And Stormy Wellington does have a Girl Hold My Hand, and it is a tremendous resource. I will put the link for that in the show notes as well. Jill, thank you so much for being with us today. I
So,
really appreciate you coming on to the show and sharing your story.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as we continue this journey, I would love to come back and just share even more.
Yes, absolutely.
So definitely we could do our yearly checkup or a 6 months checkup to
We
just kind of
can.
see where we are. Because your viewers need to walk with you as you into potentially a new journey. And regardless of what side it is, we're here to not only follow you, but also to hold your hand. And you can also give us a brand new perspective, you know,
Yeah.
on your journey. As far as, what happens after the biopsy results.
Well, I am recording. I'm doing TikToks and lives and things where I'm sharing the experiences. If my main thing is talking about mindset and how when you can put mind over matter, the whole reason the show is called Power Pantaloons is because while I was going through my journey, every morning I visualized I was putting on Wonder Woman's underwear because for me Wonder Woman doesn't die, right? So
Right.
if my thing is keeping your mind right, well, I need to be walking that. So I'm reminded just how difficult that is. And even though I did all of that, there's a gap, right? In the
Right.
time frame. So this is a reminder of just how scary it is when you sit on potentially on this side of a cancer diagnosis. And I don't know if being a survivor is a benefit in this situation or not, because I know what chemotherapy horror can be. I know what radiation is like. So the dread for that kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation again is strong. So, but even with that, I don't know one way or the other if it's better to have not and then be here or to have that behind me.
Well, I would say this, you hit it on the nail far as in the perspective that you have on it. If you have a positive, if you try to do your best to have a positive, because you know what to expect, you could say, I've been there. I've
I've been
done
there.
this. I've
Yes.
done this. Yeah. I know I'm gonna have some bad days, but you know what?
If I can kick
I'm gonna bring some
cancer's
extra
butt
donuts.
once,
I can do it twice.
I can do it twice.
Twice.
And
That's right.
you know, yes, absolutely.
And
You're
it's about the perspective. Yeah,
Yes.
we've done this. This ain't new to us. We got
Nope.
that. I got this. And that's the perspective that I hope, and I know it's easier said than done.
Yes.
Um,
But
but
it's important. It's
but
important that you try.
it's important that you try.
It's
It's
important
important.
that you try, and it's important that you put yourself, because you can't control the situation. You can only control how you view the situation. And if you're coming at it from a place of negative, all you're going to get is negative results. So you
That's
need to
right.
come at it from a positive. And I understand just how challenging that is. I did it 16 and a half years ago, and I might have to do it again. But you can use this advice through any kind of trauma, not just
Mhm.
a potential cancer diagnosis. So I'm going to state it again: go make your appointments, do your self checkings, and colonoscopies save lives. Till next time,
Till next
bye
time.
bye.